2 direct deposits land on the same Friday. Same city, same age, both 31. Same number in the subject line practically, $150,000 versus $76,000. Meet Tyler, a product manager pulling in that $150,000. And meet Renee, a physical therapist clearing $76,000 in just under half of what Tyler makes. Here's the part that should bother you. 10 years from now, Renee can walk away from work entirely whenever she wants. Tyler can't. He'll still be trading Mondays for a paycheck. Still one rough quarter away from actual panic. Same starting point. Completely different endings. And salary has almost nothing to do with why. Salary is the number everyone fixates on. It's what you'd list on a dating profile, if you were brave enough to say it out loud. It's what your uncle asks about at Thanksgiving. It's the first thing a recruiter dangles in a job posting. And it's a genuinely terrible way to measure whether you're actually building wealth, because salary only tells you how much flows toward you. It says nothing about what sticks. There are 3 numbers that actually run your financial life, and salary isn't one of them. They quietly decide whether you retire at 50 or grind until 70, whether a layoff is a mild inconvenience or a full-blown emergency. Most people can rattle off their salary to the penny and have never once calculated any of these 3. Today we fix that. Walk through all 3, run real numbers, and by the end you'll be able to calculate your own. Number 1, net worth tells you where you actually stand back to Tyler and Renee. Both started working at 22. Tyler's salary climbed fast in tech. By 31, he's at $150,000. Renee's grew slower in healthcare. She's at $76,000. On paper, this isn't close. Over 9 years, Tyler has out-earned Renee by roughly $370,000. If salary were destiny, Tyler should be nearly twice as wealthy. He's not. To understand why, stop looking at what they earned and start looking at what they kept, which is exactly what net worth measures. It's everything you own minus everything you owe: cash, investments, retirement accounts, home equity on one side, mortgage, car loans, student debt, credit card balances on the other. Subtract, and whatever's left is your real financial scoreboard, not your title, not your salary. Here's Tyler's actual balance sheet. A leased German sedan, a closet of things that lost half their value the day he bought them, $9,400 sitting on a credit card, and about $6,000 in savings he dips into every few months to cover the gap. Add it honestly, and Tyler's net worth sits close to 0. Some months it's negative. He's a high-income person running a low-income balance sheet. Renee's picture, $84,000 in low-cost index funds, $19,000 in cash reserves, no car payment, no card debt. Her net worth is roughly $103,000 and climbing every month. Same age, half the salary, and Renee is, by the only measure that counts, over $100,000 ahead. This is the first lesson. Your salary is a rumor. Your net worth is the receipt. And this is exactly where most people trip. They confuse looking rich with being rich. Looking rich is the leased car, the good apartment, the watch. Being rich is the balance sheet nobody at the dinner table ever sees. Tyler looks successful and is functionally broke. Renee looks ordinary and is quietly free. Run the numbers on almost anyone, and this illusion collapses. The loudest lifestyle is very often attached to the emptiest net worth, because every dollar shouting on the outside is a dollar that never made it to the scoreboard. And net worth has one more brutal honesty built into it. It can go backwards. Take Priya, 33, responsible, never misses a bill, but she's carrying $21,000 in credit card debt at a 23% APR, roughly the national average right now, according to Federal Reserve data on consumer credit, plus $9,500 left on a car loan. Her assets, a small emergency fund, and a modest 401k add up to $17,000. Do the subtraction and Priya's net worth is negative $13,500. She feels like she's treading water, and the math explains precisely why. High interest debt doesn't just sit there quietly. It reaches into the scoreboard every single month and drags the number down while she sleeps. For Priya, the first move isn't investing. It's dragging that one number back above 0. You can't build on a foundation that's still sinking. So where should your own net worth actually sit? According to the Federal Reserve's 2022 Survey of Consumer Finances, the most recent full release, the median American household net worth is around $192,900, but that headline number hides massive gaps by age. Under 35, the median is closer to $39,000. It climbs to roughly $135,000 in your late 30s and early 40s, around $247,200 by your early 50s, and lands near $364,500 as households approach retirement in their early 60s. Sit with those figures for a second. They're not enormous. For most of a working life, the typical household is carrying far less wealth than the paychecks passing through their hands would ever suggest. That gap between lifetime earnings and what actually gets kept is basically the entire story of personal finance, and it's driven almost completely by the second number. But one honest warning about net worth first, because there's a version of it that quietly lies to you too. Meet Sophia, 29, who did something most people never manage. She actually saved. She's got $95,000 sitting in a savings account, and she's genuinely proud of it, and she should be. But it's all just sitting there, earning close to nothing, while inflation has been quietly eating its purchasing power from underneath for years. The average savings account nationally still pays under 0.5%, well below inflation most years. Sophia has a real net worth. What she doesn't have is a net worth that's working. Money that isn't invested is a scoreboard number standing still while the game keeps moving. Once your net worth actually starts working, it changes character. The first $100,000 is the hardest because it comes almost entirely from your own labor, but invested money compounds. Growth builds on growth. Somewhere past that first $100,000, your investments quietly start contributing more in a given year than your paycheck does. Your money starts hiring more money. That's the moment your net worth stops being something you carry and starts carrying you. Knowing your net worth tells you where you stand. It doesn't tell you how fast you're moving. For that, you need your savings rate. And it might be the single most powerful number in personal finance. Savings rate is just the percentage of your take-home pay you keep instead of spend. Earn $5,000 a month. Keep $1,000. And your savings rate is 20%. One fraction. And it quietly controls the entire timeline of your life, because it attacks the problem from both sides at once. A high savings rate means you're living on less, which means you need less to be free, and you're stashing more to get there faster. Income only pushes on one side of that equation. Savings rate pushes on both simultaneously. That's why a 30% saver on $60,000 will beat a 5% saver on $200,000 over a full career, not occasionally, almost every time. And here's why it's the number you actually have power over. There are only two levers in this entire machine: earn more or spend less. Earning more is slow, uncertain, often outside your direct control. Spending less is available to you this afternoon. Cutting spending is a double win a raise can never match. A raise only adds money in. Cutting spending adds money in and lowers the finish line at the same time because you now need less to live forever. This isn't opinion. It's arithmetic, laid out famously in a widely cited piece by Mr. Money Mustache called The Shockingly Simple Math Behind Early Retirement. The core idea: if you know your savings rate, you can predict, within a couple of years, how long until you can stop working. And it barely matters what you actually earn. Watch how steep this curve gets. Save 10% of take-home pay, and you're looking at roughly 51 working years to reach independence. Save 25%, and that drops to about 32 years. Save 50%, and it collapses to around 17 years. Push to 65%, and you're free in roughly a decade. This math assumes about 5% average annual real returns while working, and a 4% withdrawal rate in retirement. Reasonable, long-run assumptions, though obviously no guarantee. The shape of the curve is the whole point. Every extra chunk saved doesn't just add money, it removes years off the far end of your working life. Put Tyler and Renee back on that curve. Renee saves roughly 32% of her take-home. On the curve, that's a working career in the mid-20-year range starting from 22, meaning freedom lands somewhere in her late 40s. Tyler, on nearly double the income, saves about 6%. On the same curve, that's a working life stretching past 40 years. Tyler will very likely still be clocking in when Renee has already been retired for close to a decade. He out-earned her by $370,000 over 9 years and is still losing the actual race because he was tracking the wrong number the whole time. The average American personal savings rate has hovered around 3 to 5% for years, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. Look back at that curve and understand what that means for most working people. A career stretching past 40 sometimes past 50 years, not a choice anyone consciously made, just the default outcome of never once calculating the fraction that was quietly setting the length of their entire working life. Here's the counterintuitive part that trips up even genuinely smart, high-earning people. Spending scales with income far more easily than saving does. When Tyler got a $22,000 raise, his savings rate didn't budge. His apartment got nicer, his car got newer, his lifestyle quietly swallowed every extra dollar. Economists call this lifestyle inflation. On the street, it just has a simpler name. It's the reason a guy pulling $300,000 a year can still be one missed paycheck from real trouble. That brings us to the third number, the one that turns everything into an actual finish line. It's your financial independence number, or FI number, and it answers the one question that ultimately matters. How much is enough? The math is almost insultingly simple. Take your annual expenses, what you genuinely spend to live in a year, and multiply by 25. That's your FI number. Spend $45,000 a year. Your number is $1,125,000. Spend $90,000 a year. Your number is $2,250,000. Once your invested net worth hits that figure, historically you can withdraw about 4% of it annually, adjusted for inflation, and not run out of money across a typical 30-year retirement. Where does 25 come from? It's the flip side of the famous 4% rule, originally rooted in research by financial planner William Bengen in the early 1990s, later stress-tested extensively by the Trinity study. Researchers ran decades of market history and asked, how much can a retiree safely withdraw from a balanced portfolio each year without running dry? The answer that held up across booms and crashes was close to 4%, and 4% of your portfolio is mathematically the same thing as saying your portfolio equals 25 times your annual spending. It's not a guarantee, and no rule survives every possible future perfectly. But as a target, it's the clearest finish line in personal finance. It converts a vague, anxious, will I ever have enough, into an actual number you can chase. Notice something sneaky and genuinely elegant about this number. It's built on your spending, not your income. It doesn't care what you earn. It cares what your life costs, which means the person who keeps expenses modest is playing an easier game twice over. They save more and they need less. Renee spends about $48,000 a year, so her FI number is roughly $1,200,000. Tyler, with his lifestyle, spends closer to $135,000 a year, putting his FI number near $3,375,000. Tyler has to save nearly 3 times as much as Renee, at a savings rate a fraction of hers, to reach a finish line 3 times further away. It's not a close race. It's a rout, and salary had nothing to do with it. Watching the 3 numbers talk to each other. Your net worth is where you are on the road. Your FI number is where the road ends. Your savings rate is how fast you're driving. Give me those 3 numbers about anyone and I'll tell you more about their financial future than their salary ever could. Roughly what year they'll be free, how a recession would actually hit them, whether a layoff is a speed bump or a cliff. Picture a recession. Tyler and Renee both get laid off the same week. Same event. 2 completely different stories. And the 3 numbers wrote both scripts in advance. Tyler, with a net worth near zero and a lifestyle that swallows every dollar, has maybe 3 weeks of runway before real trouble starts. He'll take the first offer at almost any salary because he can't survive a single missed payment. Renee, with over $100,000 banked in a lean lifestyle, has well over a year of runway. She can be patient, negotiate hard, or take a real swing at something of her own. The layoff is a crisis for Tyler, and basically a paid sabbatical for Renee. And here's the trap. The third number quietly exposes. Because the finish line is built on spending, lifestyle inflation does something almost cruel. Every time you permanently raise your spending, you're not just saving less this month, you're moving the finish line itself further away. Tyler's raises didn't just fail to grow his net worth. They pushed his FI number up by hundreds of thousands of dollars because now his life costs more forever. He ran toward the finish line, and the finish line ran away faster than he did. That's the misconception sitting at the heart of most people's financial thinking, that the path to freedom is simply a bigger salary. Earn more, and the rest sorts itself out. But a bigger salary that flows straight into a bigger lifestyle changes none of the 3 numbers that matter. Net worth stays flat. Savings rate stays flat. FI number gets worse. You're running harder on a treadmill that just got faster. Running your own 3 numbers. These aren't numbers for economists. They're numbers for your kitchen table on a Sunday afternoon. Start with net worth. List everything you own with real value. Cash, investments, retirement accounts, home equity if you own. Add it up, then list everything you owe. Mortgage, car loan, student loans, credit cards. Subtract the second from the first. Whatever that number is, even negative, is your true starting point. It's not a judgment, it's a map. You can't plan a route until you know where the pin actually is. Next, your savings rate. Take your monthly take-home pay. Look at how much you genuinely kept last month, saved, invested, or used to pay down debt beyond the minimum. Divide that by your take-home pay. That percentage is quietly the single most important number in your financial life. Under 10%, and you're on the multi-decade track, probably without ever choosing that on purpose. Above 20%, you're already outrunning most people around you, regardless of what anyone earns. Finally, your FI number. Take your honest annual spending and multiply by 25. Write it at the top of the page. It'll probably look enormous, and it's supposed to, but now you have all 3. Where you stand, how fast you're moving, and where the line actually is. With those, you can calculate roughly the actual year you get free, something your salary alone could never tell you. The twist: a raise is a test, not a win. Here's the part almost nobody says out loud. A raise is not automatically a financial win. It's a test, a fork in the road disguised as good news. Every raise hands you the same silent choice. Convert it into lifestyle, and your 3 numbers barely move. Convert it into savings rate, and that raise reaches down the timeline and pulls years off the end of your working life. The dollar amount of the raise was never the actual news. What you do with your savings rate is the news. Tyler and Renee got roughly the same percentage raises over the years. Tyler spent every one of them. Renee banked hers. A decade later, that single behavioral difference is worth more than the entire $370,000 earnings gap between them. So here's the one line worth remembering. The next time a raise, bonus, or windfall lands in your lap, your salary is what the world pays you. Your savings rate is what you pay yourself. And only one of those 2 numbers is quietly deciding when you get to stop. Most people will go their entire lives knowing their salary down to the dollar and never once calculate their net worth, their savings rate, or their FI number. They'll measure themselves against the one metric that lies and ignore the 3 that tell the truth. Don't be most people. You don't need a bigger paycheck to start. You need a pencil, 10 quiet minutes, and the willingness to actually look at the 3 numbers that have been deciding your future, whether you looked at them or not. So the next time someone tells you the secret to wealth is simply earning more, ask them one question. What's your savings rate? Because the size of the shovel matters far less than how much of each scoop you actually keep. If this changed how you're going to look at your own numbers, subscribe to the channel and drop a comment below. It genuinely helps me understand what to dig into next. Now go run your own 3 numbers and make the decision that actually matches your reality, not someone else's highlight reel.